Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video that is kind of a hard video to make. I'm giving you guys an extra video this week. I just felt like giving. And I think this was something I really should talk about. I've talked about pretty briefly on my channel, but I think it is the perfect time to kind of just discuss it. So I am going to be talking about eating disorders a little bit in this video, so if that's something that you have a hard time hearing about, if that's something that brings up old memories for you, if it's something that you can't listen to, I highly suggest clicking off this video. I'm not gonna give any like gory details, but I do definitely wanna make sure, you know, your mental health is the most important thing, so just click off this video if that's something that's a problem for you. For me, it was always something that I was very conscious of, but I think when it comes to mental illness, the real problem about not only vocalizing it, but thinking about it is that a lot of people think it won't ever affect them. And it's definitely something I thought for a very long time, is kind of like, you're mentally strong enough, or you know, if you just don't think about it, it won't happen. But just because I didn't think about it didn't mean it wasn't gonna happen to me. And it's something that isn't always a conscious thing. I think there's a couple myths I really want to debunk in this video about eating disorders. I think just one of the biggest myths I really want to debunk is that it's a choice, that it's always consciously a choice. And I think there's a borderline there where we can kind of walk a fine line and talk about it. But I think for me, it wasn't always a choice. It was something that I kind of really struggled with. And there were people in my life who knew about it, and there were people that didn't. And I think I was doing YouTube at the time when it was something that it was definitely affecting my life, but I didn't really let in on it. And it's another myth that, you know, everybody who has an eating disorder is gonna be skin and bones. That's not necessarily true at all, because binge eating disorders, bulimia doesn't necessarily equate to thinness. Just because you're anorexic doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be super thin. And I think that's really kind of, you know, it's a dangerous thought, because that kind of discounts that anyone who isn't thin isn't struggling with their weight, and that's actually not true at all. It's an important thing. Eating disorders don't pick you by gender. Eating disorders don't pick you by wealth class. Eating disorders don't pick you by where you live or who you know, who you're friends with. It's the same thing with every mental health thing. Depression and anxiety don't just plague people in the lower class or in the middle class. It is just as much of a problem everywhere, because it's not something that you choose. If it was something that you choose, it would really just about not thinking about it. It would be different. And I think that's why when I talk about it, it's really hard, I think, to talk about, because the reason that I don't talk about my mental health or don't talk about mental health as much is because I've had a lot of people tell me that I seem crazy. And that's something that really, you know, is hard. It's hard to think about, you know. It's like, if you bring up your mental health, it's like, when I ask my friends, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your mental health? I mean that, because I want to hear, because nobody asks that. Like, that's a valid question to ask somebody, hey, are you okay? Like, and it shouldn't just be because you see them that they're sad. Like, I ask that to my friends, even who are happy. So I got really sidetracked there for a second. I'm gonna kind of give you guys a background. I have always been not necessarily like a chubby kid. I just wasn't a super thin kid. My sister was really thin because she played sports a lot. She played volleyball, she played basketball. I did a little bit of track, but I wasn't like dedicated to it. It wasn't like a cross country thing. I wasn't a long distance runner. I wasn't somebody who was kind of concerned about that, but I was always incredibly conscious of my weight from a very young age. I knew that I didn't look like other people, that my body was different. My body developed a lot differently than other people I knew. When I was in middle school, or in like even in elementary school, I was already developing at a way faster rate than other people. And so that was really confusing for me. Obviously, when you're a kid, you're already growing into this awkward stage, and I was like trying to navigate the world and trying to figure out what the heck was going on with my body. And so it kind of arose really quickly that I was like, I'm different. And I think as a society, we're getting better at it, but I think the first thing that when we target that we're different is that it's bad and that it's wrong and that we need to change it. So that was the first thing I did. I think I was like, okay, well, let's not do that. So I went on my first diet at the end of the 4th grade, beginning of the 5th grade. I started writing down everything I would eat. And you know, there's nothing wrong with keeping a food journal or being conscious of what you're eating, but I look back and that's really where the plague started of kind of just all of my eating issues. All of my stuff stemmed from there. I also got comments from people pretty frequently about just my weight and how I looked, and that I didn't look like other people, or they would mention something about my weight or my size. And again, mind you, I wasn't like, even if I was a morbidly obese child, that shouldn't have mattered, right? Like, I don't think that there's any reason that we need to really seriously, unless a child is injuring themselves, unless a child physically can't do something, there's really no reason for us as anyone to get involved in that kid's health, but it's fine. I would just get comments from people within my family, outside my family, about diets, about all this stuff, and I had always felt like, from people, just in general, that I was worth more value when I was on a diet, that I held more, I was offered more because I was trying to fix something. And you know, when you start diets at an age where you're not even supposed to be thinking about things, you know, in the 5th grade, you shouldn't even be worrying about that. That's nothing for you to even think about. I started, you know, all these unhealthy things, you know. After that, the dieting kind of continued all throughout middle school. I just was on different diets. I tried different things, calorie restrictions, but the eating disorders themselves really kind of started a lot in high school. I am somebody who's a very black and white kind of person. I have a really hard time finding like a middle ground that I like. It's either all or nothing in my relationships, in my friendships, in my eating, in health, in whatever it is. It's very hard for me to find a gray area. And so I kind of just got obsessive about it. I would go to the gym 7 days a week, which I go to the gym about 6 or 7 days a week now, but it's different. I was going there and I was consciously like doing hours worth of work to try and burn as many calories, to come home to not eat anything, or to eat like a granola bar. I would skip breakfast and lunch both at school. You know, I grew up feeling like I was less than because of a certain body I had. And I think the more that you think that, and the more that you believe that, is just detrimental to every area of your life, because all it sets you up as is that you're nothing more than an ornament. Like, all you are is to exist for how you look. And don't get me wrong, I definitely think health is important, and working out and eating healthy, those are not things that I would say don't worry about those, because I still work out, I still eat healthy. But don't think that you should do that because it'll give you more value if you do it, because it doesn't. You hold intrinsically the same amount of value whether or not you eat healthy a day or you work out a day. You are not any better or worse of a person because you do it. You are still the same person. You still are who you are. And so I think there's a way to have a healthy balance, and that was something that I was always struggling to find. Know for a fact that I am where I'm supposed to be right now. I am, you know, working out. Yeah, I've lost some weight, but it was never about the weight to begin with. It was all about, I love to run. I love to weight train. I love to do these things. I'm doing them out of a love emotion. I'm not forcing myself to get on the treadmill. I'm not saying, okay, well, if I don't go on the treadmill, I can't have my ice cream. It's not like I'm training myself and I'm cutting myself off from things. It is not about deprivation in any sense of the word. Recovery itself is never about deprivation. Nothing in life should be about deprivation. It should always be about in moderation. Now, I'm not talking about like drugs or things like that, but finding that balance is what life is about. When you're doing things, and I've said this before and I firmly believe this, when you do something out of a negative emotion, it evokes a negative response whether you want it to or not. If the negative emotion is, I hate my body and I'm doing this because I hate my body and all I want to do is change it, nothing good will come of it. But if it's, I love my body, I love the way I look, I love the way I feel, and I'm doing everything I can to make my body feel the best that it possibly can. So if you have any more questions about just eating disorder awareness, about what you can do, I'll leave some links down below for different mental health places you can get help if you need to seek treatment, if you need to just talk to someone. I'll leave them down below. I hope this was helpful in some way. If not, sorry. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you back here later.